Problem 119, I'm working with some fractions here. So in problem A, I have a denominator of x and a denominator of x minus 7. Now there's multiple things I could do, but I'm going to use fraction busters, which means I'm going to multiply everything by that common denominator, which is x times x minus 7. So when I take all of this and I distribute it to the first part, or the first term, I will get 3x times x minus 7 over x, and there's a giant 1, leaving just 3 times x minus 7. When I distribute that to this fraction, I will have 5x times x minus 7 over x minus 7, and the x minus 7's make my giant 1, so I have plus 5x. And then when I distribute it to the negative 2, I just get negative 2x times x minus 7. So my next step now is to just go through and distribute to get rid of the parentheses. So when I do that, I get 3x minus 21 plus 5x equals negative 2x squared plus 14x. I'm going to combine my like terms here, and I'm also going to move this to that side. And I'm doing that so that I get a positive leading coefficient. So this is a quadratic. I have an x squared term. I want to get this to solve it. I want to get equal to 0, and I want to keep this positive if I can. It doesn't really matter if it's negative. I just think it's easier to solve when we have a positive leading coefficient. So I'm going to have a positive 2x squared. When I move that over to this side and combine with these, I'm going to end up getting negative 6x. And then I have a minus 21 equals 0. Now I can go through and solve this quadratic. I'm going to use the quadratic formula on this one. So I'm going to end up getting x equals positive 6 plus or minus the square root of a negative 6 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 21 divided by 2 times 2. There's my quadratic formula. That gives me 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 plus, because a negative and a negative makes a positive here, 168 all over 4. Again, simplifying underneath the radical symbol, I'm going to get 6 plus or minus the square root of 204 all over 4. 204, if I look at that as a little side problem here, square root of 204 is square root of 4 times the square root of 51. So I'm going to reduce that radical. It is 2 square roots of 51. So now I'm going to have 6 plus or minus 2 square roots of 51 all over 4. And my denominator of 4 I can reduce with both terms of the numerator. I can reduce everything by 2. So my final answer is 3 plus or minus the square root of 51 over 2. And that's the final answer for problem A. Problem B. Also, I'm going to use fraction busters on this one, but we don't have any x's in the denominator, so it'll be a little bit easier. Common denominator is 12. So when I multiply 12 right here, I'm going to get 2x plus 3 times 12 over 4. That will simplify down to a 3. So I'll have 3 times 2x plus 3, and I'll distribute that in the next step. When I put it here, I will have minus x minus 7 times 12 over 6. That will reduce down to a 2. So minus 2 times x minus 7. And when I distribute the 12 here, the 12 and 12 will make a giant 1. and I will be left with just 2x minus 3. All right, getting rid of the parentheses. 6x plus 9 minus 2x plus 14 equals 2x minus 3. I'm going to combine like terms. So I have 4x plus 23 equals 2x minus 3. Subtract that from both sides, and I will end up getting 2x equals negative 26. I move the 23 over. And x then is negative 13. And that's problem B.